Alrighty, what's going on, guys? I've got a lot of things I've been thinking about, doing research on, and just kind of wanted to share some of my thoughts because I was much bigger into yield farming on Binance Smart Chain when that really kind of blew up, and so now I've been looking at kind of some of the other things that the other developments that we've seen in the space. So like the big one that came not too long ago was the big price rise of Polygon network as an alternative to the Binance Smart Chain, and I think there has been a little bit of issues with that one from what I've heard in terms of congestion at certain times, but it mitigates some of the issues that you have on the Binance Smart Chain. And so like with the other networks that I'm looking at, you've got Fantom network, which is another new one, and both of these, it's real easy to set up. You're setting up basically the same as Binance Smart Chain, where you're adding another feature to MetaMask, and I'm not entirely sure how PulseChain is going to work. That's the clone that, or not the clone, but the hard fork of Ethereum that is going on the ETH network, which is going to duplicate all of the ERC20 tokens if you're holding those in your wallet or if you have them staked. So another incentive. I'm not sure when that's happening. I've been a little bit out of the loop on that, but it's pretty straightforward. But these four chains have really started to drive some of my interest with some of the passive income options that we've seen. So like in my last video, I was talking about the benefits of having a grid bot set up so that you have a lot of orders that are layered in at different areas. And so I want to show that just for those that maybe are a little bit unfamiliar with the with BitsGab. You have oh man, I screwed up my camera when I flipped it around because of the microphone. Anyways, so this was my account. I was kind of showing it the other day, and so you have the ability to layer in a bunch of different orders, and then you're providing liquidity, and you're doing essentially the same thing with yield farming on Binance Smart Chain or some of these other projects. You're providing liquidity into a smart contract. So you have one that's kind of working as like a trading bot that's actually kind of making micro orders as there's fluctuations in the price, and another one where you're just simply farming a particular token, and sometimes those can be very volatile in price. The PancakeSwap was the big one that took over, and the amount of money that was in that project was around 10 billion. Thank you. Some tea coming in here. Can you put it right here? Thank you. So like with the valuations that we saw with these projects, in terms of the amount of money that is in these, I gotta fix my camera issues here. This is the DeFi station, and so you can kind of see that right here. PancakeSwap has got almost 10 billion. Venus, which is another one that doesn't have some of the same returns, but a lot of stability behind these. So when you get these projects that have billions of dollars behind them, they tend to have a lot more legitimacy. And so there's projects that I've seen that have been in the space for a while, and that gives me more confidence that those are going to be continuing to succeed in the future. I was just looking at one a little bit earlier. I was a little bit negative towards it at first, just because of a particular project that they were promoting. But you can see here with like Beefy Finance. Beefy Finance is doing a lot of multi-chain optimization. They were going to be on Fantom. You can see here. Let me pull my mouse over here. So you've got Polygon, you've got Fantom. I don't know anything about this Hexco. That's the Hiobi symbol, so maybe Hiobi's doing something, which should be really interesting if they come out and do something like on the Hiobi chain, because the size of that exchange, that could be interesting. AVAX was a coin that's been very volatile in price since it was since it's kind of since I've been watching it with Wick Hunter, because I've gotten liquidated it on my bot, because that was the one that tended to react to the market pretty heavily in some of those times. So, but a lot of times when I'm doing that, I really look into those projects and I see what's behind it, what's different about it, and that's a little bit of how I'm going about and researching different projects. And I had a really interesting conversation with a guy today. I'm not going to disclose his name because I didn't talk to him about that, but it's literally the first person I've talked to here in Peru that is in crypto. And he answered a lot of questions that I had about real simple things on like converting money, some of the crypto environment here, and it's really not much. I think it's going to be interesting because Peru, with the political situation, a lot of people may not fully understand this, but like it's I guess becoming like a communist country. It's turning into Venezuela. So people are actually looking to leave here because of that. And there's all kinds of problems with the banks. Like any bank that you go to has got a massive line outside of it. You got to wear the face shield, like 2 masks. It's so ridiculous. I think that some of the kind of the apps and the ways to kind of get around that are going to do really well in a place like this, because there's such a need for that sort of thing. So it's anyways, it's an interesting environment for crypto, and I got some really interesting insights on some of these, and I've been looking into them. I haven't invested quite yet into Polygon or Fantom, but they're real simple and easy to set up, and now I've been kind of checking out a few that were shared with me, so I'll show you guys some of the ones that I'm looking at. You guys can give me your thoughts. Let me zoom in here. That seems to fix the camera issue. There we go. Okay, that's a little bit, yeah, that's not bad. This is Poly Up, so you can connect it here. You're connecting to your MetaMask. It's going to ask you to connect. And they've got yield farming, very similar to kind of what we've seen on PancakeSwap. So you've got this is PancakeSwap, and you can see like when I'm going through these, you can search by like APY, but like let's take a look at some of the higher performing ones. 500, 300. Like it's a high percentage, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. There's probably better options in other places to find better returns, and you're also getting into some very interesting projects that aren't necessarily ones that you would see in the top 1,000, right? So there's a little bit of risk behind getting into some of these projects where there's such an amount of impermanent loss behind tokens that don't have a whole lot of history or are really new. So that's where like something like BitScap is, you're getting into the same type of thing where you're providing liquidity, but you can get into something where you are holding crypto coins that you might be bullish on for future development. So I think one of the things I've been doing is like with some of my profits, I've been diversifying, but there's kind of like a cascade effect. So like I've got a lot of performance from some of the more leverage style projects, and then you can diversify by getting into BitScap bot pairs that are performing really well, and then on top of that, then you can come down into yield farming and try to get into some projects that are going to be some of the larger ones, a little bit more trusted, where you don't have as much risk of impermanent loss or getting scammed. So there's safe returns, and that might be good for people that aren't as familiar with it or aren't going to be checking it as much or checking into it as much. So if you're looking for a set it and forget it, I would recommend getting into some of the bigger projects with more amount of money behind them. And I think that's going to be a really interesting play if you can get into some of these up and coming projects on these newer networks, because what we saw, like Ethereum became like unusable, like when the fees got so insane, and you were looking for alternatives, and Tron kind of filled that void. And I would say, like the early part of 2020, and then as they kind of increased the fees, it became, that network became unusable, and then there was this huge rush into Binance Smart Chain, and it's essentially the same thing to set up Matic network or Fantom. So you're just simply adding it to your MetaMask, so there's not as much it's easier for people to get into, and the upside potential of some of those is even better, because you're getting into some very, very bullish projects, and you have the ability to do yield farming inside of those. And I really like some of the pairs that I'm seeing like in some of these projects. Here's another one. I kind of was looking through a few of these. So this is Crystal Poly. So this is a DEX on Polygon. ApeSwap, I've been hearing some really interesting things about, and been looking into this a little bit as well. The Bananas tokens has been doing really well from what I hear. Here's another one. This is PolyCrystal.finance. And don't have a whole lot on here yet, but I mean, if you're bullish on their Crystal token, which is what you would be farming here, and the Matic network, this could be a really good pair. The APYs, these are going to change, as this launches. I guess it's launching at like midnight. This one, there was like a countdown. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, this was like countdown in 5 hours. Yield farming is starting here on Polygon Scan. So there might be some really interesting profit potential on some of that. Like the guy I was talking to here said he's got $5,000 ready to dump into it, or already has it ready to go for when that goes live. So staying on top of like some of these newer trends can be massively profitable. Because like when I first got into Binance Smart Chain, I got into a couple of pairs, and I really I felt the kind of the strongest about their future. And like for instance, I got into the BSCX token, which was doing some really interesting things, and the APY was really high on that in Binance, or not the PancakeSwap. So because of that, I was able to earn quite a bit on the token valuation, rising in value, along with BNB. And I think the same thing can happen on some of these other networks. And check them in the chat a little bit. What was the top FTM pool? I missed it. So I am still looking into these. I don't have all the resources. There's some analytical, I'm kind of looking for analytical sites where I can get a little bit more information. This is Polygon, finance. So this is a lot of the stuff I'm seeing around Polygon, and I don't know as much about Fantom. But typically with some of those newer networks, they're not going to have some of the tools ready yet that you would see on some of the other project, like Binance Smart Chain's got the yield farming watch, for example, where it pulls all the information from your wallet on all the farms that are out there, and gives you a good valuation of kind of where you're at. So that can be a real helpful tool. There's something to be said for getting into projects that have a real solid foundation that you've done a little bit of research on, or have a little bit of a market reputation. With PancakeSwap, there's a lot of risk because you're just in these no-name tokens. Like if it's a token that's not traded on Binance, I'd be really wary of it. And some of these newer yield farming projects, you're paired with some up and coming projects that could go up massively in value. They might be overvalued, where they might need to dump a little bit, because there has been such a huge run up, and a lot of people that got in early on Matic made a ton of money, and I kind of missed that boat because I wasn't really staying on top of everything. Man, it's getting kind of loud here. So this is the JW Marriott here. I'm here for the internet, but they have like everything shut down here. Like you can't. I couldn't even go see a room. Like I have somebody that was going to give me like a discount on like getting a room here or something, and it's, I don't know. You can't even show you a room because of this, like the sanitation, you know, because it's like it breaks the seal. It's so stupid. But anyways, but yeah, like these. All of these newer farms are ones that I'm taking a deeper look into. You know, this is show a few of these other ones. I've got Polycat.finance. This is an interesting one. There's you know, a lot of potential with the Matic network and some of these farming pairs. This is an extension in a lot of ways of what we kind of saw with all of these different projects blossoming on the Binance Smart Chain. So I think there's you know, there's going to be some opportunity. You know, some of these, like, I just don't know enough about like the tokens. So like when I'm looking at this list, you know, in terms of like, this is more of like a staking. Let's see if we can get into the farms. So these are going to force me to do a little bit more research on some of these because I don't know enough about them. I mean, these APYs are insane, right? But you know, I was hearing some stories about some other YouTubers, you know, that you know, I haven't had a chance to follow everybody, but a few guys I know that did really well in different yield farming projects, getting in early and you know, just kind of following the trends. And you know, taking profits. So I'll put together a better list after the stream of some of these newer farms that I'm looking at. Curious to hear people's feedback. I'm more looking at a strategy to kind of try out some of these, but getting into maybe like the top pair. Like for instance, like if I was new to, you know, say like the Binance Smart Chain, and I want to do yield farming on that, like it might be, you know, something to look at to get into the biggest one, which would be like the Cake BNB pair. So you could, you know, farm that. You're not going to make that much, but it's something that you can build over time. That's going to be a little bit of a safer bet, particularly if you're bullish on, you know, say Cake in that example, which might be a good play with all of the burn functions they're doing. I just don't understand how its value is done so well, but you know, it's you know, it's one that like it has really worked as a like kind of like a catalyst for a lot of these other yield farming projects. You can use that's probably like the secondary token behind BNB on that network. So you might see some of those in, say, like Fantom, or you know, Fantom and Matic, you're gonna have their particular token, but like, what is that like? You know, the farmed token, like the crystal token, is that one that's going to you know, dump a lot in value or really rise in value? If you're trying to get into, you know, the farming, there's going to be a lot of buy pressure, I would imagine, and that is going to be really good for price in these newer projects by getting in early. So anyways, that's kind of my thoughts. Do you know if any of the rug pulled Binance Smart chains will come back to life? Some are very cheap now. So one of the ways to look up some of those rug pulls is on BSC scan, and that's kind of what I was doing before. Like that's a good question, because it's, you know, there's history kind of repeats itself, and I would imagine there might be some really big scams coming to you know, Matic and Fantom, for people that are kind of a little bit you know, maybe not as up on their history on things. That gets us right here. Let's see if I can pull this up real quick. So let's pull up. Pull this around here. Let's look at This is BSC scan yield farming list. So this is one where you can see some of the newer farms, but you know, I don't know how well some of these have been doing. Let's see if we can find. You can see some of the comments on these. You know, rug pull. What was this? Antisocial.finance. There was a lot more on these like earlier when I first really started getting into the Binance Smart Chain. I have to go back on my history there, but there was quite a few rug pulls, and they were all kind of these like really hypey projects that didn't you know, were offering like crazy APYs, and then more and more people started to provide liquidity until they just pulled the rug. So I would think that, you know, if you have some better analytical sites or some things where you can get some information on these, you're going to do, and just kind of keeping an eye on things, that's going to give you some better indications on, you know, timing on getting into, you know, some of these projects on, you know, kind of like the next version 2.0 of what we saw with the Binance Smart Chain rush. So, but I'm still really bullish on, you know, instead of, you know, farming a particular token, you know, going with a little bit of the safer bet with BitsGap and setting up grid bots and providing liquidity that way. Like there used to be, you know, a lot of opportunity, like with Uniswap, you know, earning potential by providing liquidity. With the fees have really kind of made that more of like a whales game. So you really have to make a much better educated decision. You know, with some of the cheaper fees on these networks, you know, you can play around. You can test things out. You know, you can. You know, I got into about 15 different farms on Binance Smart Chain and just kind of spread some things out. Some did well, some didn't do so well, but my list was pretty good. Like, I don't think there was a rug pull on any of the ones I was. Something happened to Bunny Finance. I don't fully understand that whole history. I got to look into that, but you know, let me see if like, let's take a look at DApp Radar. I haven't looked at this in a while. DApp Radar can be a little bit scammy, like because of the way that you know, scammers tend to kind of exploit like resources like that to make their project seem like something it's not. So PancakeSwap currently second when you're looking at all blockchain dApps, but you also have a lot of these other networks. Let's take a look at Polygon. So I would be interested in some of these ones that are kind of top in this particular category. So I'll be checking out some of these. I think that would be cool. I'm sure there's some with a lot of opportunity. I'm not seeing Fantom here. They've been adding more. Avalanche, Near. I don't know anything about that. It looks like the Market Cipher logo. Telos, Tezos. Let's see if they have other. Oh, others just. Yeah. Anyways, you want to look for the daily active users. You want to look for liquidity. You want to look for you know, a lot of activity in some of those. So you're going to get a lot more with Ethereum and Binance, obviously. So you want to take that into consideration. But let me take a look. At some of these and just kind of give my first impression. You know, when you're looking at, like, yeah, I mean, the daily active users, which can be manipulated, so you want to keep that in consideration. But they've got a quick swap DEX on Polygon that's got, you know, 21,000 active users, and, you know, some of these other ones. That's kind of one of the things I look for. But I also am a little bit cautious because, you know, they can lie about these figures right here. But I like to see the daily active users a little bit high, so I bet there's a lot of opportunity in this little sweet spot right here on Polygon, and definitely want to keep an eye out for like, you know, what's going on with some of these other ones that are coming soon with more development, like Fantom, like PulseChain, and that sort of thing. PulseChain has a small amount of liquidity. Do you think the hex price will crash? Well, I don't know enough about how the liquidity is going to work. I know they got some burn functions that will be interesting to see how that works. But holding any ERC20 and they're just basically going to, you know, they're just going to clone everything over. I don't know what that's going to look like with all of the tokens that are out there, and you know, essentially they you know, could be sitting in wallets, you know, never used for people that don't know anything about it. But prices, I'm sure, are going to be kind of all over the place. But it's really interesting because I feel like, you know, Hex is a great project, but, you know, it's hard to interact with it in certain ways. Like, one of the ways that I've been doing it was, you know, I kind of mentioned this in my stream the other day, was, you know, providing liquidity on B-Box, but it's not really earning that much. You know, not in comparison to like some of the other pairs. So I don't know if that's gonna be the most profitable strategy, but I do like the idea of earning more hex, even if it is at a slower pace. But man, I mean, you know, like, I think it'll be interesting to see how PulseChain works out and how that is adopted by people that are informed on that. But I think the other thing I would think about is, like, crypto niche can be really small. I think it's going to be a small amount of people that are going to kind of getting into that, and so it could, like, you know, there's probably going to be like a huge ramp up with prices and stuff. But you got to look out for the crash, because there's just not going to be enough adoption behind it to really drive it. So you want to get into something perhaps that has a little bit more of a history or solid foundation if you want to take a more conservative approach, and then risk, you know, go a little bit risky with some other funds and newer up and coming projects like that. But yeah, so that's kind of some of my thoughts on the yield farming projects right now. So I think I'm going to call that a stream. So I appreciate you guys staying online. I'm going to try to do this more often. Try to find some places, some good Wi-Fi, a good setting, and a good time of day to do these. It's a little bit of a different thing for me now, trying to figure out a good time of day to do a stream. So, anyways, appreciate you guys staying online. I'll catch you guys in the next video.